Yo, this is Real Talk E. Welcome to the locker room. We talk nothing but basketball. If you want to be part of the locker room, you obviously have to be part of the team. In order for you to be part of the team, you have to subscribe and share the video to not only be part of the team in the locker room, but to also be a part of our daily basketball conversation so that you don't miss nights of basketball like this. Now, yesterday in the league, there were 6 games going on. Obviously, we were nearing the end of the season, and surprisingly, even though some teams have cemented themselves in the playoffs, seeding is still being fought for because, for example, in the West, you got the Nuggets, the Grizzlies, and the Kings that are certified going to the playoffs. However, those 3 teams are still fighting for their own seeds. The Kings have a chance to take the 1 seed, the Grizzlies still have a chance to take the 1 seed, and the Nuggets have the 1 seed and it's theirs to lose. In the East is the same way. The Bucks, Celtics, Sixers. Any one of those 3 teams could take the number 1 seed. Home court advantage this year will be very, very important for every single team. And let's go ahead and start talking about the games because there's a lot that went on yesterday that had to do with home court advantage. And on top of that, surprisingly, with all that being said, a lot of games last night were blowouts. Like a lot of them were blowouts. Why? Couldn't tell you. But let's go ahead and get started with our first game. We had the Clippers go up against the Pelicans. And to be honest with you, this was one of the most entertaining blowouts I've ever watched. First quarter, it was back and forth. It was a lot of threes made. I mean, the Pelicans had like 9 threes made in the first quarter. It was insane. Like, I don't think the Pelicans have made that many threes in a quarter ever. And last night, they made 9 against the Clippers. And then Brandon Ingram, a couple of things. One, we all knew already that he's an amazing scorer and he's really unstoppable. And if he could stay healthy, he'll be a problem for the league. I don't think he could be KD level like everybody was predicting him to be when he first came into the league. But I think he could be somewhere up there. Like he has the tools to be super dangerous on the scoring side, and his defense is not bad either. Like he's a good defender. And then last night he had a double-double with assists as well. I believe he had like 13 assists. And when you saw the assists, you would think CJ McCollum was not playing. No, he was playing. He had a good game too. He had like 20 points, 8 assists, and 8 rebounds. Now, for the Clippers to allow CJ McCollum to get 8 rebounds at 6'1" is insane to me. Like, you're allowing a 6'1" point guard to get 8 rebounds while you have Kawhi, Ivica Zubac, and a whole bunch of people that's like 6'5" and above. And on top of that, Trey Murphy, he's been amazing for this Pelicans team. Obviously, they lost Jose Alvarado, Zion Williamson, and we've watched them go from the top 4 seed all the way down to a bottom 13 seed. But now that they're fighting their way back, I believe last night with the win, they went higher than the Lakers. I think they're 8 now or 7. So with that win, it's been amazing for them. And a big part of every single win that they've had is Trey Murphy. Last night he came in, and in the first half, he was 6 for 7. And he was hitting threes like non-stop, like could not miss. And the last game that they had, he shot a whole lot of threes too and made them. Like, for this Pelicans team, he's definitely showed a lot of growth, especially from the beginning of the season. I remember when I used to watch him, I was like, why is he taking so many shots? Like, you have Brandon Ingram, Zion, CJ McCollum, and a whole lot of other guys on the court that can take these shots. And now it's at the end of the season when they need him the most, when it's time to fight for a playoff spot, when they're trying to avoid the play-in or, try to get the 7th seed and play the play-in at home and only have to play 1 game. He's been coming up big for them. And this shows, like, showing trust in your teammates in the beginning of the season, in the middle of the season, can really pay off at the end of the season or in the playoffs. And for any team to meet up with this Pelicans team in the first round, if the Nuggets or the Grizzlies get them in the first round, that will be a problem. They're not a team you should look over. They're not going to lay down and let you just, roll them over. It's just not going to happen. Not if they're healthy. Now, if they get injured because they have a history of getting injured and a lot of injuries in their main guys like Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, that will be a problem. And with that being said, Zion's supposed to come back somewhere around the end of the season. Within the next, I think, 10 days, 8 days, he's going to be reevaluated, and I believe he should be straight. I mean, he's been out since January 2nd with the hamstring injury. Like, I think he should be fine. After that, I think he should come back, and the Pelicans will be able to take care of business. They'll be able to compete in the play-in, and in my opinion, I believe they'll make it to the playoffs. I think this year would have been one of their best years if it wasn't for all the injuries. But let's get back to last night's game. First quarter, Kawhi starts off 2 for 8. Kawhi had a terrible game last night. Only had 12 points. Believe had like 6 boards, 4 assists. So not good from Kawhi. Also, it just like felt like he wasn't there. Felt like he disappeared from the entire game. And in the second quarter, the Pelicans made 13 threes, which was a franchise record-breaking threes in the half. And the person who broke the record was Brandon Ingram. It just like it's so hard to guard BI because like who's long enough to stay in his way, and then who's big enough to really make him feel pressure. Like he's just gonna get to his spots and make his shots, and it's super efficient too. And it doesn't matter if it's the end of the shot clock. It doesn't matter how much pressure is put on him. He's gonna find a way to get the shot off and make it. And even CJ McCollum in the first quarter, second quarter, he hit a couple of shots. And even if you guard Brandon Ingram, you still have CJ McCollum, who we've seen time after time after time go off with 20, 40 points. And we've seen him win a whole playoff series damn near by himself. With the Blazers team, that was worse than this. They didn't have the defense of the Pelicans. They didn't have the talent of the Pelicans outside of CJ and Damian Lillard. And if the Clippers, choose to hold one down, I mean, you still got everybody else. Trey Murphy is going to punish them because not only can he shoot, which we saw last night, the night before, but he could get to the basket and they could lob it up for him as if like he's a big. They could do it all. And Jonas Valanciunas, like, he can score, he can shoot, he can rebound. There's a lot of ways this Pelicans team can beat you. There's a lot of ways they can punish you. It's one of those things that you usually have to pick your poison, especially when Zion comes back. Yeah, you're going to really have to just pick your poison and hope that you just don't get beat because it's going to happen. And I know that's a tactic that every team uses, especially in the playoffs. Like, okay, we're just going to, stop this because it's probably going to hurt us more and let them do this more. But with this Pelicans team, with the way that they play, it's like they have so many threats in every type of way of playing, and they have like 3 to 4 different ways that they can play and still beat you with the guys that they have. And then for the Clippers, I already mentioned that Kawhi had one of his worst games. It just didn't even feel like he was involved in the game. I mean, in the first quarter, even though he missed a lot of shots and he went 2 for 8, it still felt like he was still in the game. It still felt like we had the Kawhi Leonard presence in the game. After the first quarter, I mean, in the second quarter, it kind of started going away. And the third quarter just vanished. Like, it didn't even feel like Kawhi was there at all. And everybody else on the Clippers, they just started making threes, just hoping to get in the game. And just could not do it. And somewhere in the second quarter, they were like 5 for 14 from 3. It was just bad. Like, it was just terrible. And the Pelicans were up by like 44 to 28. At a certain point, I went up by 19. Clippers fought back. At the end of the half, it was like a 6-7 point game. We get to the third quarter, and the Pelicans bring it all the way back up to a 20-point lead. And before you know it, it's over. We get to the fourth quarter. I just saw like Ty Lue just sat out all of his starters, put out his bench and a bunch of energy guys. I don't know what was his move there. I guess he wanted energy to try like bring them back into the game, but it was just not gonna happen. Eventually, I just clicked off. I saw Kawhi wasn't gonna come back, and I really just wondered what happened to Kawhi. I thought it was an injury. I guess not because Woj and Sham did not say anything about it. But I guess it was not an injury. So somebody please let me know what happened. I hope it's not an injury because if it is an injury, then the Clippers team is in deep, deep trouble. If they just lost last night, lost home court advantage to the Suns, and lost Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. That would be terrible. Our next game, we had the Bucks go up against the Nuggets, and obviously this is another blowout too. But I'm not gonna say too much about this game, even though it was way closer throughout the game, and the Bucks had the lead for a while. The Nuggets pretty much had this game. I mean, the first half, the Bucks were in it. They were getting to the basket. They had 11 transition buckets to the Nuggets 0, which was crazy to me because in 24 minutes, you telling me a whole team couldn't get one transition bucket? Not one? And with this Nuggets team, like I would expect them to have a transition bucket. If Jokić has the ball, they're usually all running as hard as possible. And last night it just was not that. Like it just wasn't the same in the first 24 minutes. But they were not out of the game. They were still within the game. They were still battling. It was still like a 1 5 point game at all times. And we get into the second half, and this is really when the Bucks just like lost it all. I don't know. I mean, it's obviously a little bit of both, but I don't know if it's mostly the Bucks' lack of great offense, or is it the Nuggets' defense that turned up? And obviously, it's gonna be a little bit of both, to just how life works, how basketball works. But it's like, which one was it more? What affected this whole thing to just fold on the Bucks? Because in that third quarter, the Nuggets just turned it up, and after that, it was over. Their defense just got into the Bucks. They got steals. They, forced the Bucks to make a whole bunch of turnovers. They got to the basket. They just did it all. And then MPJ, he started scoring. I mean, in the first quarter too, we had Jamal Murray that went off for like, I believe 15 points, 18 points. Some of his like highest scoring first quarter. I don't know if he tied his first quarter high of 18 points, but he went off, and there was like a certain like couple of possessions where he scored like 10 straight points for the Nuggets in the first quarter. So when we get to the second half, I'm expecting him to go crazy in the second half. That's not what happens. However, the Nuggets end up taking the lead, and I guess it just didn't matter. They did not need him to come back and score another 15 points in the third quarter. And Jokić did not have a bad game neither. He had a great amount of assists, rebounds, and points. Same stats that Jokić always has. Just great all around. And then the rest of the Nuggets team just showed up. KCP hit a couple of clutch threes. Bruce Brown hit a couple of clutch threes. Just like everybody did their part. Jeff Green posterized Giannis. That was insane to me. I could see how Giannis did not expect him to get up that high, especially at his old age of, I think, 38. But damn, that was insane. And overall, like, we get to the fourth quarter, and I'm expecting the Bucks to try to make one last push. If not, they're gonna sit down. But they stayed in it, and they really trying to like somehow, some way get some miracle to happen. Did not work. Nuggets end up sitting out, and Bucks lose. That's it. And what was like a 1 to 5 point game difference ended up to be like a 130 to 106 win. The Nets beat the Heat last night. It was just like, damn. Like, I don't understand what the Heat are doing. I don't understand what they're going through. It's like, I want to feel bad for them, but I don't at the same time, because it's like they're doing this to themselves. They're just not changing. They're not changing anything. They're not doing trades. They literally have a whole stacked bench, and it's just a stacked starting lineup, and nothing has changed. Like, they had 1 or 2 years where everybody was like, oh my God, the Heat, da da da. But this year, the last couple of years, it's just not the same. I don't know what happened. I don't know what went wrong. I don't know what are they expecting, but they need to change something. Like, make a big move. Trade, like, I don't know, Tyler Hero. Trade Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Victor Oladipo, a couple of players off the bench. Make some noise. Like, they have not changed nothing, and they expect change. It's just not gonna happen, and that's why they're stuck around 7, 8 seed, 9 seed. They're gonna have to play in the play-in. I don't think the Nets are gonna fall that far. It's like, I believe 7 games left for every single team. So from here on out, expect every team to start playing really hard to try to, like, get home court advantage or take their playoff seeding, or every team is just gonna start tanking after a while. I believe in the next 3, 4 games it'll be over. Like, that's it. Teams are gonna be in the playoffs. We're gonna see that they went to the playoffs, and teams are not gonna be in the playoffs. There's no point in keep playing your starters and running them to the floor. But anyways, that's enough of me rambling, chatting stuff for y'all. Let me know, chatting down below, like, comment, subscribe, and share. This is Real Talk with Ian. It's time to leave the locker room. I'm gonna catch ya. Safety.
Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown.
The officials have to review it, and the Lakers win the game. Banks it in. He banks in the three
To win it. Good. That's why he's NBA All-Defensive Team. Adebayo, sky high with the block and rejection.
This is for the win. Got it. Wow.
At 7, working against Butler, got down.